I haven't loved this season of Peacemaker. Not as much as I'd like to anyway, and definitely nowhere near as much as I love season 1. And I was having trouble as to figuring out why that was. But after watching episode 4, I realized that the way this season is formatted makes it so that it's only interesting when Peacemaker is on screen. In season 1, the story revolves around the butterfly invasion, so you were able to show us characters on their own and still have it be engaging because it's directly linked to the main plot. In this season, the story revolves around Peacemaker having a doorway to an alternate dimension, and the side plot is Rick Flag wanting to imprison Peacemaker. But because for the first 3 episodes, Argus has deliberately kept their distance, it's not very engaging. On the other hand, every time we see Peacemaker, he's dealing with a major crisis, either in his personal life or from exploring the other Earth. And because this is such a well-developed character, it's a whole lot easier to be invested in his story. So this has led me to a conundrum, where I absolutely love half the season, but I'm also not as invested in the other half. The season has felt so dragged out because we had a 2-episode setup followed by a mini adventure, and then episode 4 is 100% setup with 0 payoff. There was so little to talk about, I couldn't really think of a topic for a worthwhile video to make on just episode 4. But episode 5 has fixed a lot of my gripes with this season. Despite it being the shortest episode of the entire show by far, it feels like we got so much out of it. And it's largely thanks to episode 4 falling on the sword by being all set up so episode 5 can be all payoff. And it's led to the best episode of the season. This episode finally has all of our protagonists actively working together in some way, shape, or form to keep Peacemaker alive and out of Rick Flag's hands. Harcourt in the previous episode warned Peacemaker that she was compromised. After he shows up anyway, she works against Argus to capture Chris alive. Then Harcourt has to get Economos to help by having Peacemaker booked in the Argus system, so there's a record of him being there, and if Flag kills him, then there will be proof. Adebayo and Vigilante don't have a ton to do, but they're more just here to talk to Chris and try to bring him back down to Earth. We finally get the long-awaited meetup between Rick Flag Sr. and Peacemaker, and it didn't disappoint. Flag beats the shit out of Chris, and they do a phenomenal job at making the punches of a normal guy feel as powerful as you could imagine. And this episode shows on full display just how far Chris has developed since the Suicide Squad. We see it when he gets rejected by Harcourt and discovers that she was very close with Rick Flag Jr., and she says she can't look past that. Chris doesn't try to defend himself, he just says he understands and walks away. When Rick Flag Sr. is wailing on him, Chris refuses to fight back and constantly calls him sir. And all he does is try to apologize. And the end of the episode really does do a solid job at hitting you in the feels. Chris saying goodbye to everyone and saying he feels like he wasted all his chances at being a good person and having a happy life was already sad enough, but then seeing his friends react to reading this just makes the scene even better. And Jennifer Holland is doing an exceptional job in some of these scenes. Everyone was saying she was great in this season, and I never thought she was doing all that great. She was serviceable. But there are several scenes throughout the entire season, and one specifically in this episode, where she does a great job at subtly showing how guilt-ridden this character is. And some moments where she feels guilty just for having actual feelings of any kind for Chris, and other scenes where she clearly feels bad about how she treated him at specific times. I think a lot of my negative feelings for this season have been because this is primarily a character study on Peacemaker and him trying to figure out how he can have the best life he can, and not so much an action spy thriller like the last season was. And character studies take time, and you don't always see all the subtle and important details until you've gotten the whole picture. Episode 5 absolutely delivered a lot of what I felt was missing from this season. And if it could save episode 4 for me, which at the time of release I felt was the worst episode of the entire show, then I can see a future where when this season wraps up, it wipes away almost all of my issues with this season. Guys, if you made it to the end of the video, please be sure to leave a like and subscribe. If you enjoyed the video, I have a bunch of Peacemaker content on the channel, from The Suicide Squad to every episode of Season 2 so far, as well as a video of the entirety of Season 1. Thank you all so much for watching, and take care.